So the winter in Forza Horizon 6 kind of made me want to go back to Forza Horizon 4, of course, when the winter was actually in FH4, and really look at both games kind of side by side and also back to back to really see how the winter in FH6 is compared to FH4. Now, the first thing I will have to mention here is we all do know in the reveal they did talk about how the roads in FH6 will not have snow on them, or at least, kind of be cleared, as we also do know in Japan itself, they do tend to keep their roads very clean. Here in America, well, in Colorado when I used to live there, I can't really say the same thing. When it snowed there, we definitely got snowed in. We were in the mountains, so yeah, but the one thing I did notice though when I was playing FH4 was kind of simply down to how the roads did end up looking a tad more slushy type, or, obviously they're looking kind of icy, or, I guess a better way to put it is snowy, if you know what I mean. You could kind of tell that it did end up snowing, whereas I did notice on FH6, basically every single road is obviously very clean. Now, the biggest reason for this, though, I'm sure everyone does know, but people pretty much hated the winter season in Forza Horizon 4, okay? At least from what I saw, there was tons of forums. Nobody liked the roads on how they were slippery, or you had to do different builds with your cars to stay on the roads and all that, and people kind of hated trying to drive fast. And not gonna lie, guys, I'm gonna be real here and say after playing both games back to back, I actually think I prefer FH4, the way the roads were in this game in the winter compared to 6. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like how FH6 did end up making, obviously, everything is still wintry. That is still a thing. You don't have to worry about that going anywhere. The roads are still kind of damp and wet in some areas, obviously, like the snow is drying up and all that, and it's a little bit wet sometimes in some places. That's something you will notice in FH6. But I did notice in 4, though, the roads are definitely way more wet and also way more snowy looking with the slushy, or even some roads are literally covered in snow on FH4. And not gonna lie, guys, that is probably one of my favorite things about it. Like this clip here right now, driving the Subaru, I really did love the feeling of these roads like this, okay? I know I might just be kind of alone here, as everybody did not like how you couldn't drive super fast or you'd slide everywhere, but I really did love how this kind of gave you the feeling that, yo, we're in a winter storm. It's obviously the winter season in the game. I love how the roads were even covered in snow, as it kind of gives you a fun driving atmosphere when you're in this, and that's probably the biggest thing for me, is the atmosphere in FH4 and the snow, guys. I'm going to say it's way better than 6, okay? I put it out there. Attack me in the comments, but honestly, let me know what y'all think. Did you like the winter in 4 or 6? I'm super curious. The reason why I do say this, though, is I do remember a lot back in the day driving around the mountains of Colorado with my dad and just kind of cruising around and stuff, and seeing the roads covered in snow, or the dirt roads covered in a lot of snow, man. It was honestly awesome. I completely loved it. And that was something I was a little bit confused about with FH6 is, for one, if you guys were to off-road in Forza Horizon 4, I will show some clips of this. Do not worry. I wanted to show this, and then obviously side by side, the off-roading areas in 4 do tend to have a lot more snow off-road. Now, I know this might sound kind of stupid, but I kind of like knowing that I'm driving on an off-road area in the game, and I know it's covered in snow, and it kind of gives you like a, okay, well, let's go drive down this dirt road into this mountain area, or let's go drive over here, and it will give you that feeling that you're in like a heavy winter type of setting. You know what I'm saying? The snow coming down in 4, by the way, looks amazing with the darker clouds, okay? That for me was also a huge W compared to 6. All right, I think that was way better. But the one thing I did notice in 6, though, when I was driving off-road a little bit, is they kind of made the roads too clean in some areas. Now, what I mean by that is they're obviously clean dirt roads in the snow, which, don't get me wrong, that is pretty cool. And guys, I wanted to mention this before you say it. I'm talking about some of the dirt roads, not in the high mountain region. That is different, as up there, I will show a piece of that. Obviously, up there, the snow is deep. It is the mountain alpine region, okay? So it's deep up there. But some of the dirt roads around the map, though, you guys will notice that even those are super clean. I was kind of hoping some of these would be covered in a bit more snow. And I know these might be like little gripes here and there. I don't hate it or anything, but after jumping on 4 and going around and off-roading on there a little bit and then jumping on 6, I kind of think I would have preferred that a little bit when on the dirt roads in FH6. I think that would have been pretty dope to see more of the snow on the dirt road areas, at least for me anyway. It's kind of crazy that FH4 came out in 2018, and I'm kind of comparing that to this, and that was kind of one of the things I thought about, though, is yes, if you went to the higher mountains in Forza Horizon 6, obviously the snow is going to be deeper, man. You're in the Alpine region. Funny part is, though, it's always deep up there, okay? Or at least I could say snowy. The snow is actually not that deep. I'll talk about that in a second. But it's always snowy up there regardless of what season you're in, which, by the way, I love that. I think having the mountains be covered in snow all the time is awesome. So if you do want your snow itch, or you want to feel some wintry type of ish in yourself, you know what I mean? You can go up there and drive around a little bit and experience that. But the one thing I was kind of confused on is when I started to drive off the main beaten path a little bit, which again, up there, the dirt roads are covered in snow, so I give it there. The snow was not as deep as I thought it would be when I did end up driving off the road in Forza Horizon 6. This is something I wanted to do because on Forza Horizon 4, guys, if I put this side by side real quick, and I also show both clips, obviously, FH4, when you're driving through deep snow, bro, it's actually kind of insane. The snow in Forza Horizon 4 is literally very deep, and it's kind of hilarious because you can experience this in a bunch of different areas around the map. Like, look at this right now, guys, in the Subaru. All right, just check this out. You can't tell me this is not really fun in the Subaru, because this is literally what a Subaru would be doing. And again, I lived in Colorado. I saw people literally do this in Subarus, okay? There were some people I remember when that went to the school I went to. It was like a middle senior high school, so there were some high school kids there that had Subarus like this, and they would literally do this in some of the areas. It's actually kind of cool, and it's funny because the snow in Forza Horizon 4 is way deeper than any area I could find in 6. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but to be honest, for me, I was kind of expecting, at least in the Alpine region, the snow would be a little bit deeper, and in some places you can kind of notice it, right? You can kind of notice the snow being a tad deeper, but it's not nearly as crazy as it was in FH4, and that was something I kind of noticed. And what's wild is I had to go to the mountains to notice this, by the way, guys, okay? I had to go to the mountains to notice that, as if I was just driving around in Forza Horizon 6, I couldn't really find any areas that could be super deep with the winter like that around regular parts that wasn't in the Alpine region. I would drive around in some places, go off-road, and there were some areas that, don't get me wrong, if you're driving some areas by that one big vision house, there was a little bit in the fields over there where the snow was a little bit deeper, but it was nothing like FH4, man. I feel like everywhere in that game had deep snow. You could drive in. It actually felt like you were driving through really deep snow in that game, and that was probably one of my favorite things about FH4, guys. I absolutely loved it. And I was kind of wondering about this a little bit, though, is a lot of people have been talking about this a bit, and I do kind of wonder if people actually did prefer the winter in FH4 now that 6 is out. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, maybe the winter in that game was better than we thought, or maybe having the roads covered in snow and being able to have more detail of the snow on the roads, maybe it wasn't as bad as we thought. I kind of thought about that a little bit. Like, do you guys like the roads being as clear as they are in FH6? Do you like how, obviously, keeping the roads clean, that is a real thing and that's a good thing, but I also do kind of like some areas of the map having heavier snow on the roads. I think that would have been kind of cool to experience that. You don't have to have every part of the map covered in like slushy or different parts on the roads and all that, but it would have been kind of a cool detail to have certain areas of the map covered in different parts of snow like that. I would have loved that, because not every single road in FH4 was covered in heavy snow, but some of them were, which I really did enjoy driving down those roads and just taking in the atmosphere. And I think that's one of the biggest things. For me, FH4, I think, actually did it a bit better with the overall atmosphere of winter. And in ways, I kind of actually like the winter in Forza Horizon 4 way more than 6, guys. Okay, I said it. The overall atmosphere design in this game, the way the snow is set up around the map, how it's deep in a lot of areas, a lot of the off-road, dirt road type of areas are covered in snow. It's just really cool. I think they did a great job with it. I also do kind of like how the roads will have like the icy looking part on them, or you could tell they're a bit frozen. Then you could drive right into the roads that are covered in snow. For me, this was honestly amazing. Now, again, I understand that in Japan, they definitely keep the roads clean, which is wonderful. I also kind of think in some areas, maybe they could have made the roads a bit more snowy, like even in the mountains in the winter. At least during the winter season, if anything, they could make it to where the mountains do have more snow on the roads. I think that would have been pretty dope. Like, not every area has to be covered in snow 24/7. But I also kind of like those details, and I think that really adds on to the atmosphere. And the other thing I loved about FH4 was simply down to how the sky looked when it snowed, guys. I love the darker clouds covering the mountains, and you could see the snow coming down pretty dang heavy in that game. It made it super fun to race around and do different things, which I noticed the snow coming down in 6 was also way lighter, and I don't really think the sky was as good looking. Again, this might sound kind of stupid, little nitpicks, but something I noticed when playing each game, and things I really did notice jumping back and forth specifically in them, The overall skybox in FH4 with how heavy the snow looked when it came down, man, I think it takes the crown. And to be honest, Forza Horizon 4's winter, for me, still takes the crown. Now, yes, FH6 map does look amazing in the winter, still has some great elements. I think a lot of players will like how the roads are clear, but I also kind of think if they were to jump back and forth and play winter on both games, they probably would have wanted a bit different changes there, I would say, in some places, which I kind of think a lot of players would agree with. But you guys know what? I could keep yapping on about this as I've been thinking about this for a little while. But I'm really curious, which game do you guys like winter in more and why? And if you could change something about the winter in FH6, what would that be?